Alright, back again with the PO-33 KO, everyone's favorite micro sampler. In this video, I'll show you how I set up my PO-33. I'll show you how I like to arrange and load samples, and we'll go over some advantages of setting up the KO this way. Make sure you stick around until the end of the video. We're going to play back some sample kits so you can sample them too. Well, alright, let's get started. This video builds on others we made about the PO-33. Some information overlaps, but each has a different focus. Check out some of the other videos for more information about the KO. Now, let's start with the drum section. I like to group my samples by type: kicks, snares, hats, and percussion. I load up 4 samples into each slot. There's several advantages to doing this, so let's walk through some of them. Grouping similar samples allows you to use the KO's filter for each sound slot. By comparison, if you use a filter on a sound slot with a complete drum kit, the filter won't work to your advantage because you'll apply the sounds to the entire kit. Here's an example. I have a drum kit loaded on this slot. If we apply the filter, it will affect all the sounds in that kit. That means you'll likely want to avoid the filter. Filtering the slot for a kick will likely make the rest of the sounds in the kit sound muffled, for example. But by grouping your samples by type, you can make use of the filter since similar sounds require similar filtering. Check this out. Let's select a slot. I have my kicks here on slot 13. Press effects to cycle through until you get to the filter. For kicks, I like to roll off the top end. On knob A, rotate counterclockwise until you see the low pass filter engage. I like to listen by ear and roll off the filter into the mid frequency range, just so all the highs are gone. Now knob B allows you to control the resonance of the filter. If you're unfamiliar with resonance, it's the shape of the filter at the cutoff frequency. You can make the edge of the cutoff gradual or sharp. This is good for kicks because you can make them knock a little bit harder by shortening up the resonance. Lastly, you can adjust the volume of each sound slot individually. That's another advantage of grouping your samples, and it allows you to set up a basic level mix between your sounds. Press and cycle through effects until you see tone. On knob B, adjust the volume of the current sound slot. If we take a look at the hi-hats on slot 15, you can see some of the hats I have loaded. For these types of sounds, I like to keep them light and high. Press effects until you get to the filter. Turn knob A clockwise to engage the high-pass filter. I like to adjust it so there's no low end in the sound. On knob B, we can adjust the resonance. And finally, select effects until you get to the tone. Adjust knob B to set the level. I like my hats to be the quietest sound in the mix. While we're at it, we might as well adjust the snares. I have them on slot 14. You can hear some of the snares I loaded. I like my snares to lean a little towards the highs and adjust a little off the lows. And now adjust the resonance to taste. Adjusting the volume of snares is important. Snares can overwhelm a mix, so I like to keep them proportionate with the kick sound, usually sitting just below. Another advantage of grouping your drum sounds is that the drum sounds are now polyphonic. Some drum machines will only allow you to play 1 or maybe 2 drum sounds per step in a sequence. So now you can sequence polyphonic drum breaks. Sick! Another reason to set your drum sounds like this is that you can swap drum sounds quickly. So you have a pattern going, but one of the sounds isn't working within the pattern. You can select that sound, press the step you want to swap, and then rotate knob A. In this case, sounds 1 through 4 are similar, and I can rotate through until I like one. Lastly, grouping samples saves space. Sampling 4 kicks in a row might take about 2 seconds to sample, and sampling 4 slots worth of drums might take about 8 seconds. Comparatively, if you sample an entire 16-hit drum kit, that might take several seconds, and you might only have 1 kick or snare to select from. Grouping your samples will allow you to be more selective with your samples and save you sample time in the process. Alright, that's enough about drums. Now let's take a look at the melodic samples. The PO is set up to transpose a single sample across 16 steps using the harmonic minor scale. I like to load bass sounds, kicks, and synths into the melodic section. Since drums and bass are the foundation of any good beat, I like to load up various bass sounds for flexibility. Let's take a look at a bass sound to show you how I adjust the settings. I have bass sounds on slots 1 through 3. Like the drum section, I adjust the filter first. For bass sounds, I like to roll off the highs. Some bass sounds have a little bit of information in the mid to high range which you might want to keep. Sometimes a little bit of distortion can take an ordinary bass sound and make it sound like it's going to rattle the block. So I like to adjust the cutoff until we're just at that frequency. Then carefully adjust the resonance to make the bass sucker punch you in the chest. Last, let's adjust the volume. I like to set it so it's just below the kick. Now, adjusting a synth sound is similar. Let's select a slot and adjust the filter to taste. I like to roll off the lows and leave the resonance fairly wide. Narrowing the resonance will make the synth punch through the mix. The synth can either be high or low in the mix. I recommend keeping it a bit on the low side. The last settings I want to show are the BPM and volume for the PO-33. These are both global settings, so each pattern sequence in the KO will follow the same global BPM and volume level. Press and hold BPM and rotate knob B. I like it between 70 and 90 for most hip-hop beats and above 120 for most EDM style beats. By pressing BPM and rotating knob A, you can adjust the swing of the unit. I like to keep the swing fairly light, if any, but you guys swing how you like. We won't judge. By pressing and holding BPM while selecting one of the 16 buttons, you will adjust the volume output of the KO. I like to keep mine between 12 and 16. If all your sound slots are adjusted high, then the unit will likely distort when your overall volume is set high. So adjust this setting so it's only 1 or 2 steps below the level of distorting. Now let that beat bang. That's it for how I set up my PO with sounds and settings. If you made it this far, you're awesome. Pat yourself on the back. Hit that like button and subscribe while you're at it. Thanks for supporting our channel. Now, as promised, here's some drum kits. From my PO to yours. The easiest way to sample onto your PO is to get your 1/8 inch to 1/8 inch cable, plug one end into your phone or computer gadget and the other into your PO-33. Use a dongle if you need to. Select the slot to sample. Get ready with that record button. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Now select your next sound slot. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Check out our video about sampling tips and tricks if you haven't. That will give you some information about trimming samples on your KO. There you go. Have fun. Peace.